Match starts in 3, 2, 1, fight!
Hello everybody, I am Ben from Team Panic. It is now time to look at how Squeak, my B-Div plastic class ant, performed at ARC's Havoc 6. Now before we get into the fight, I will say I upgraded the squeaker based on some of your suggestions. I did a video a while back about trying to design my own squeaker for this, and the whistles worked really well, but all of the bellows that I tried didn't work. I even tried some of your suggestions on bellows. I was going to make a video about it. I ran out of time, unfortunately. So I've ended up actually doing what somebody else suggested, which was stealing the bellows off of one of the hammers I have already, and this thing works really, really well. It squeaks pretty well for all of the experimentation and stuff I was doing. We actually got something that I think is probably about as good as it can be for this type of weapon on this type of motor and in this type of robot. So let's get on into the actual event itself. The event itself, as with all of the other things in Havoc, was a round robin first and then a tournament after. We had a very small round robin group in the B's because there was more round robin groups in the B's. So we actually only had 4 people in our round robin group, which meant only 3 fights for Squeak to make it through into the finals, potentially. So let's start on those fights. And first up, we have Tron, built by the same person as Tron that we fought with OC Do Not Steal, but this time, of course, a B-Div robot and just a wedge. No active weapon on this one.
3, 2, 1, fight! That was unexpected. As long as I don't like to... Oh, there we go. Oh no! How is it not? It had torque before. I should have left you there. Oh no! Oh, come on! 10, 9, 8, 7, I get the wrong way 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's right. The battery.
Okay, well that's kind of annoying. So it turns out that with the current geometry of the new squeaker, the robot can't self-right from this position, which it should be able to do. I think it's just a kind of length of everything thing, so we should be able to print a new version of this with a shorter hammerhead on it and get that self-righting ability back. However, the squeaking actually worked. We heard it from outside the box every single time the hammer swung, which is perfect. That is exactly what I want, and not only did we get it forwards, but we also got it backwards too. The only downside to having the squeaker out the back as well is that the motor is actually powerful enough to lift the back of the robot up a little bit, so every time the hammer throws backwards, the back goes book and kind of jumps just a little bit, which look, it's a thing that is happening, so it's a thing I need to be aware of and look out for, because that is breaking traction on the wheels, which is an important thing to have in a combat robot. So it's just a thing that I needed to really look out for. The other thing that was kind of unfortunate here was that I had not put acetate on the wedge of Squeak at this point, and Tron got under the wedge every single time, which was not good. It's very, very difficult to do the things you want to do, including squeak at somebody when they are underneath you. And yeah, we had a new wedge on this time. I've got a new big replaceable wedge on this because Batty, a very nasty drum spinner in the B-Div, destroyed the wedge last time, and I basically was like, right, well, we're going to put on a replaceable one so that this can get destroyed and we can just swap it out and keep fighting. But of course, a robot like Tron isn't going to do that for us. And in fact, all they really did was get us upside down and get me stuck, and then they helped me get back over again, only to stick me again, this time underneath the camera, so you guys couldn't actually really see what was going on. But yeah, we just got stuck upside down, just like that. So that was an unfortunate start to our round robin, and also the only fight I had in the B-Div for day one, because again, very, very few fights in the B-Div round robin for us, which meant that they got spread out a little bit. I didn't really do too much to Squeak over the evening because I had other robots to worry about that I did other things on, and I realized that if I had a full battery, we could just about self-right from this position. So I just kept the battery charged going into every fight and hoped that if I got stuck upside down, it happened early enough that we could flick ourselves back out of it. So let's move on into day two, and our first fight up is against Wally the Wedge, an aptly named Wedge robot.
3, 2, 1. Squeak absolutely brutalising Wally the Wedge.
Wally, come on, move him out the way. Good job, buddy. Need to get the back of him.
Wally the Wedge getting some back, and return, says Squeak.
Yeah, he landed on his own battery. It's kind of crazy.
Halfway through this match. How much time you got? 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Oh no!
So I really, like, this type of fight, I think, is, for me, what the B-Div is all about. It was just a good, solid driving fight. I mean, a lot of things worked for me. The Squeaker was working on the hammer quite well. I'd put acetate on by this point, and the acetate was getting under him pretty easily. But that meant it turned out to be a driving fight. Lots and lots of just trying to get around the sides of each other and push each other where we didn't want to be. And there was a lot of back and forth in that fight, including two really, really good lineups on the pit where each of us got the other one a line drive towards the pit and just missed by, you know, a bot's width, effectively, not being able to do the actual pitting that we were trying to do, but still getting a good line drive either way, which is always fun and is always scary as the person in the scoop being driven towards the pit at high speed with no control. That was just a lot of fun, and those type of fights are really, really good. Wally's driver did an incredible job. I mean, obviously, being the one who goes up when you hit front on is never an experience that you want to be in as a driver, especially not driving a control bot like Wally the Wedge. So he did a really, really good job of trying to get around me, go to the sides, and, you know, not let me get underneath him. And yeah, it was just a fun fight. And then of course we ended the fight by getting a nice good shove on him towards the pit and a couple of hammer blows just to kind of shake everything up and get him to wobble into the pit. I do like it when I can finish a fight with a nice good hammer blow. It actually turns out that is one of the things that the hammer is really useful for, is smacking people when they're on the edge of the pit, making them wobble and break traction and, you know, maybe not have the ability to drive themselves back out again that they want, and getting them down the pit more convincingly, effectively, which is good. That it helps win fights like that one. So that was good. That was a win. We're sitting at 1-1, which is not a bad place to be in a group of 4. So our last fight up is against Batty, the robot I mentioned earlier for breaking the wedge or breaking the dustpan on the old version. It is a drum spinning robot. It hits pretty hard. Let's see if these upgrades have done anything at all.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, go! Getting some good squeaking. Peter's coming down.
Go away from there. Push him in.
Underside of Squeak. The Squeak returning with some good hits. Batty's weapon seems to be down.
He's stuck.
Reset it, reset.
I'm resetting it.
Batty's weapon back.
That is my battery, yeah.
We're calling it because there is a battery exposed. We do not want a battery fire.
So yes, in the worst possible way, effectively, the dustpan worked, and the dustpan worked really well. I was getting under Batty every single time we went face to face. The weapon wasn't really hitting the dustpan, so much so that the acetate that I put on is still in good nick. And the last couple of times that I've fought Batty, they've destroyed the acetate as well, which is just bad because it means that, you know, I'm unable to get under people anymore, and especially not getting under Batty is a problem because Batty will punish you severely for not getting underneath, especially the weapon. So I was quite happy about that in the first half of this fight, and then of course their weapon went down. They managed to reset the ESC and get it back up and running again, which was very, very unfortunate because then they got into the dustpan and hit the actual chassis properly, right at a point where, right behind where they actually hit, a screw goes in, and I think I actually weakened the layer lines with that screw. So they split the layer line there, and then by continuously hitting, they split it a lot further around the robot, especially at points where the layer lines weren't as weak as up the front here. So I might need to redesign this again, do a captive nut or something in there rather than trying to screw directly into the plastic. Or we might go back to a 3D Printworks printed chassis. This one is an ABS one that was done for me by one of the other competitors, Steve, who very kindly helped me when I was running out of time on rebuilding robots. He threw this chassis on a printer for me very quickly, and it worked most of the weekend, but yeah, I might have to go back to a 3D Printworks printed one because his Het G printed chassis held up really well other than the really, really thin dustpan that we did, so we might have to go back in that direction. And of course, because Batty had effectively ripped the front and top off my robot, the battery is right here at the front, right where that drum was. And so that counts as an exposed battery, and we lost that fight, which is very unfortunate because it actually was the critical fight, apparently. Both Batty and I ended up with 1 win and 2 losses. Usually that would mean a countback, and that is what happened here. So they looked at the fight between Batty and Batty won that fight, so Batty moved on through into the finals, and poor Squeak here did not. So that is the end of the tournament for Squeak, because not into the finals, and there was no time to do any rumbles or anything like that in the B div, so Squeak was out. And that was it for the B div in ARC. I'm pretty happy with the way that Squeak is now working. I think all I'm going to do is shorten the hammer down a little bit, reprint this chassis better, and yeah, we will have a really, really good B div robot that I'll probably just keep fighting and not really do too much work on from here on out. I mean, I will throw things into the B-Div from time to time as experiments, but I like Squeak in the B-Div as just a fun little run around that it is fun to hit people with and just have a good time with. So that's what we're going to do in the B-Div from here on out. Anyway, that is the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed that one, and I will see you in the next video.